think I finally got him to sit down. No, I didn't. No, I didn't. You're going to... See, I tried to let you in, but this is what happens. Okay, hold on, Bookie. Okay. Let's get this teacup, honey. You're gonna have to move, Bookie. You're gonna have to move, Bookie. Move, baby. Move, Bookie. So I can get these little thoughts off. You gotta move. Okay, let me... this is hot. The tea is hot, honey. Okay. Anywho, I don't know if you're going to sit down or not, but I hope you chill out. Sit, Bookie. Oh my gosh, you're so... Anywho, I'm going to get these thoughts off either way. So when it comes to this book, it's like I was literally meant to read it. Is my little flyaways together today? But anywho, it's like I was meant to read this book. I finally decided to tap into the other two chapters, or the next two chapters, and and she is hilarious. Like, the girl is hilarious. I have to give it to her. She's cursing, she's being relatable, she's doing all of the things. Spooky. Look, you're bringing all this chaotic energy, all this playful energy. But she's basically doing all the things that I would love to see if I were to read a book. Like, it's relatable, it's simplified, and I feel like it... Hold on, I don't know if Mr. Bookie here is gonna calm down. Okay. We're not playing, baby. I feel like you just want to be the star today. Anywho. You know what? Hold on. I cannot seem to get comfortable, honey. Anywho, I thought Bookie was going to be able to calm down, but clearly that's not happening right now. Anywho, so when it comes to this book and just what Miss Mamas is saying, it's beautiful. So today I tapped into her talking about fear and why do we fear failure. And so when I read that we are born with two innate fears, one is, one is the fear of falling, and then the other one is the fear of loud noises. Now, me being me, honey, I had to look it up. And it checked out. Like, there are two innate fears that we have as human beings, honey. So then, obviously, it turned into like a very, very short rabbit hole. But basically, all of the other fears that we have in life, all of the other experiences that we, quote unquote, fear are learned. Duh, obviously. But to me, it wasn't like that obvious because, you know, there's all of these phobias in psychology. There's all of these traumatic experiences, even though they are, that we have throughout life. And it's just interesting to read about. And then I love how she's tying in psychology. She's tying in her own personal experiences. Well, when I really think about it, it's kind of like what I'm doing on my blog. It's just, honey, I haven't published anything yet. But she even made a little comment about us not stepping out of our comfort zone. And I think in one of my previous videos, I was like, I want to be comfortable. But after I like rewatched what I said, I was like, well, honey, your life has been anything but comfortable these past few months, this past year or whatever. So it's funny how that little slip came out subconsciously or unconsciously, whatever you want to call it. And after I thought about it, it was like, honey, no. Like, yes, be comfortable, but don't get too comfortable to where you don't want to step out and take risk again or whatever the case may be, honey. Anywho, back to the book. She was talking about I feel like it's something on my lip, honey. She was talking about the amygdala, the prefrontal cortex. She was talking about the hippocampus, the hypothalamus, basically how the limbic system affects those three parts of the brain. And did I say that right? I feel like I did because I have the book right here, honey, as a reference. We got to do a little pause, honey. Anywho, if it's not the limbic system, it's easy to research it and look up the correct word or the correct system. But as I look for it, let's see. Boo, 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 boo. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. Let me quit playing, even though I'm not playing. Honey, the limbic system. I did all that just to be correct. And I related to it so much because I have had to face so many fears, like within such a short amount of time. And as I was thinking about the things that I've been through, which is not even as significant as what other people are going through, it's like, boom, okay, this happens. And then you have to figure out how to get over that little hump. And then boom, the next thing happens. And then you have to get over that hump. And then you may even have this suppressed fear from the last experience that you have. And you don't even know that you're, like fearing it until it comes up again. Or maybe it's like suppressed or you just whatever. All of these situations that happen in our life. And we think that we're just going through life like, okay, next. When in reality, it could be affecting us. Like she was talking about anxiety and how when certain emotions or feelings would arise because of a past, once again, traumatic experience, it's kind of like you either have to face it or sulk in it or change the way that you speak about the situation, which also reminds me of the other book that I read a few days ago called You Are What You Think. Beautiful. And I don't know, when it comes to fear, the other part of that was perception is reality. Like how we perceive things, how we are having an outlook on certain things is because of either the experiences, or it could possibly be because of, I have not even drunk this tea yet because it's piping hot. It could possibly be because of the experiences that we've had or what we've seen, not knowing or not really caring that, honey, it's a lot going on out here. And not only could somebody be going through the same situation to a certain degree, it could be well, we already know this. I feel like this is nothing that hasn't already been explained or discussed, but this is my own little think piece because, child, I love stuff like this. But anywho, we have, basically what I'm trying to say is we have this big world of billions of people, and we sit here and we harbor on past things that we've been through or past situations, and literally they can't change anymore. They're already gone. They've already happened. But because of the way our brains are wired, or because of how some of our brains are set up, we sit there and okay, I'm here for that plane taking off. We sit there and we think about it, 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 and we think about it. Kind of like a record player that's like scratched, or a CD player or a CD that's scratched, and it's playing that same little part over and over and over again. And so I got a little bumpy bump. And so even to add on to that, there was a psychologist in the book, and they were explaining how it's not showing that then. And they were explaining how sometimes, even when it comes to our past experiences or quote unquote mistakes that we've made, we as human beings, we don't let it go. Like, especially when stuff is on the internet, when stuff is on social media or whatever, it's hard to let things go when it gets stuck on the web. Because it's on the web, honey. And yes, some things may be able to, I guess, what do I want to call it? Change or move forward. But we as human beings, we don't tend to be as forgiving as, and I don't want to make it like spiritual or religious, but as the Most High or the Divine or God, because I don't want to be offensive since this is going on a public platform. But we're not as forgiving, and it makes sense to a certain degree, but at the same time, it's like it's happened. So after something has happened as far as our past, I guess the real change will come with the decisions that we make next. Like, okay. And this is just like, this actually reminds me of a video that I watched a while ago, and she kind of touched on it, but it was more so in like a spiritual light. And basically she was saying that, which is kind of what I was getting ready to say, basically saying that mistakes happen. Like, mistakes happen. We get fearful of certain things. We do certain things in our past. We're trying to survive, whatever. But it's all about the choices that we make afterwards. Like, okay, now that we know better, I can even tie this back to, like, there's so many beautiful quotes and references out here. I could even tie it to another beautiful quote. When you know better, do better. I believe that's the quote. If it's not, it's a remix of it, honey. And it's not always easy to do better. It's not always easy to say, okay, now that I know what not to do, I'm just not going to do it again. I would be a lie to say that that's easy. Like, it's not. Especially when you see other people getting away with certain things that they're not supposed to, especially when there's just all types of things. And I have this little book that I'm like playing with, especially when there's just so much going on in the world. And I don't know, and I'm segueing, but I'm going to come back to fear. And we feel like, okay, well, if they can do it, I can do it. And I don't think that's the case. If we know that something, I guess, what is it called, is not morally, quote unquote, right, the obvious and simple choice is just don't do it. But I mean, we're human beings. Like, and depending on the spectrum of what it is that we're doing that's morally right or morally wrong, it's going to have a different consequence or a different reward. And it just depends on us what type of risk that we're going to take, which pushes me into the next chapter that she got into, of the fear of failure, because we're either willing to take a risk or we're not willing to take a risk. And so I personally feel like I've taken a lot of risk. I feel like I've become insecure about certain things in my life and just all types of situations, honey. And some came with rewards and some came with consequences. And so with that being said, it just depends on us as individuals how we're going to face our fears, because if you don't fail at anything, you won't know what it feels like to say, okay, what can I do differently? How can I change this and how can I change that? And that's not even to say that we're going to be able to just succeed that next time or the time after that or the time after that. It may take 150 million failures to actually succeed, because success is also something that is extremely subjective. What success is to one person is not what is success to the next. And I also feel like I went into detail. Well, not in detail, but I also tapped into that on my little website. But yeah, this is a beautiful book. I'm trying so hard not to read it all at once because she is just so relatable, and the way she's just simplifying everything has me just like, girl, let me tap in. And then me being me, I also looked into Violet from The Incredibles, the little animated movie. Because, child, I love movies. I can't help it. But I also tapped into Miss Violet and how, hold on. And how, in the beginning of the movie, she's just so, I guess, awkward and somewhat antisocial, and because she has the superpower of being invisible, she feels like she just wants to blend in and be normal and just not really, what do I want to call it? Not be her unique self in a way, not like show the real beauty and personality of who she is. But as she evolves and as she just develops throughout the movie, she finally gets to the point where, you know, she uncovers her face. Hold on, my nose is itchy, honey. She uncovers her, what is going on? She uncovers her face and she taps into her superpower. And not only is she able to start using her invisibility as a benefit to help save the world, she finds out that she has the ability to protect. Like, she has this ability to put up this force field around people that need protection. And I don't, it reminded me of that as well, because we have these internal fears that we create ourselves. And it's just like, what the, if we would just face the fears, which I'm glad I'm having to do, especially this past year or so, the fears are really not that bad. Like, yes, they could be horrible, actually. They could be just the most unimaginable things that I can probably think of. But at the same time, once you face them, and she even went into that in the book, honey. Once we face them, once we just kind of sit there and we're like, okay, and you repeatedly or repetitively, well, I don't want to say certain things, I don't want to be experiencing over and over again. Let me just say that. But once you face the fear, it's kind of like, okay, well, I can knock that off the to-do list. I can knock that off the bucket list, and you move on with your life. So, I feel like I was meant to read this book right now. It's beautiful. It's amazing. And being able to have it as an inspiration for not only my life, but to be able to have a little think piece on it too. Chef's kiss. Chef's kiss. And it just goes to show, sometimes, honey, we cannot be comfortable. Like, yes, being comfortable is okay, and it can take steps, but I don't know. I feel like I'm about to segue, so hold on.